I don't know. When we get nice days like this, I do see a little bit of it. People wanting to either walk it or on the challenge or do other things.
Here's this process they have to get through.
Yes.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
and they don't realize how fast that goes snowballs. Working nowadays.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, it's been back.
Anybody want?
I know it's,
Good chance.
hybrid.
You know, so, yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah.
So whenever you're ready, we can start. It is noon. Okay, so, well, I'm gonna do a couple seconds introduction. Nick will spend 30 minutes under my opening. And we'll go.
Can I ask you, a favor?
Like flyers.
Do you mind voting these for me? I'm running by the seat of my pants.
Okay. Okay, welcome everyone. This is City Club, Springfield City Club. It's noon and it's time to start our program. Just a brief couple of announcements before I turn it over to Nick to introduce our speaker. We are going to take a break. We will not have a program on July 4th. Hopefully, everybody else will find something else as equally exciting. We are in the process of looking for additional membership. If you're all interested in joining City Club, you can sign up on the webpage. You can fill out a little form at the table, and we will move on from there. Our next program, as I say, we're not going to do the 4th, but on the 19th, I guess it is, 18th of July, we're going to have a program involving the city and their climate-friendly area requirements under the governor's executive order. And I guess it was DEQ.
Division of State Lands.
DSL
DSL.
established a requirement for climate-friendly and equitable communities. One of the requirements is these climate-friendly areas, which are designed to stimulate alternatives to single vehicle traffic, among other things. Anyway, that's our next program, and it'll be July 18th. And then I'll turn it over to Nick Nelson, who will introduce our speaker.
All right. Thanks for coming, everybody. I had the pleasure of meeting Nancy a couple months ago. I was doing a chamber pop by and swung in there and came out just really intrigued on what she was doing. And so I brought it to City Club, and that's why we're all here today. So Opportunity Oregon is dedicated to finding employment opportunities for individuals involved with the justice system and recognizes the untapped potential within these often overlooked community members. Opportunity Oregon ensures that both employers and individuals they do have a second chance benefit from this initiative through prison outreach, employer education, and business development services. Nancy Pants, which we all like the name, we already talked about that. Co-founder and executive director. She is a justice-involved individual who spent time incarcerated at Coffee Creek Correctional Facility. Nancy is dedicated advocate for the reentry initiatives, has lived experience as a formerly incarcerated individual, enabling her to establish genuine, true connections with the prison population. Through seminars, workshops held within prisons, Nancy leverages her personal journey to inspire and guide inmates. Her strategic partnerships with Oregon Department of Corrections, Oregon Corrections Enterprise, and Workforce Oregon, and numerous other collaborators underscore her commitment to providing comprehensive advocacy for individuals within the justice system. With the 9 years of business ownership experience as a gym owner, she brings a wealth of expertise in marketing, networking, and people skills. Her engagement with businesses across Oregon has significantly expanded fair chance hiring opportunities for justice-involved individuals, acting as a bridge between employers and employees. She excels at matchmaking based on skills education, and experience. Her continuous engagement with the Prison Work Center ensures a dynamic exchange of information between the incarcerated and the community. She holds an associate's in applied science degree in business administration with a specialization in accounting from Central Oregon Community College. So I'll let Nancy take it over.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for such a friendly introduction. Appreciate that. Thanks so much for having me here to share today. I'm excited to be here to share all about Opportunity Oregon. I'll just kind of go back in time a little bit and just talk about our mission and why we came to be. I'll have to say that most of my recent seminars are inside state facilities across the state of Oregon with the adults in custody that we have that are prepared to be released to our communities. Regardless of where they're actually at in those facilities, whether it's way out east. I just wanted to highlight that Multnomah County is the top county that they're released to, and the second is here in Lane County. So a lot of those folks are going to be our neighbors and in our community. So it's really important to have that crucial connecting point while they're inside of the facilities. So I'll just go a little bit back in time and talk about, why we do what we do. As you mentioned before, I am formerly incarcerated myself. I lived a completely different life. I grew up in Southern California and then came up to Bend, Oregon in '93. I just dated myself because I was a freshman in high school then. And really got myself into a lot of trouble for many years. I had 3 kids by the time I was 21. And off and on, I had a drug addiction that I had battled with. I didn't have any kind of work ethic. Yes, very irresponsible, didn't make the right choices for a long time. In 2007, that came to a crashing end. I was arrested for it. I'm very transparent about this, for gas station robbery in Bend, Oregon. And I had a moment where I met with, this is a highlight that I speak with the adults in custody about, is I had a highlight with my lawyer that came there, who's now my friend, mentor, and is an incredible author, Lori Hellis, a great friend of mine to this day. And she actually told me that I could treat prison like a boot camp. I could take advantage of every single program that was in here and completely transform my life, down to work ethic, through drug treatment, through the cognitive skills, through all the things. And on the way up there, I lost my partner to a drug overdose, and I decided that it was the end of them living that lifestyle. And that was 16 years ago. So I came up to Coffee Creek and I did take advantage of every single program that they had. I remained in Senate level. I was given a 6-year sentence with good time and programming that I could release 3 years early if I did these things. Not only was that a motivation, but I wanted to come out a new person. And so I took part in different additional classes, such as Toastmasters, parenting, life skills, cognitive thinking treatment program that completely transformed my life inside of the Department of Corrections. And I really focused on who I was surrounding myself with. And because I believe that the habits that we have while we're inside those facilities reflect who we're going to become when we come out. So this is the message that I am sharing when I go up to the institutions. I'm going to give you a little bit of background here through the slideshows here. And what is the arrow to people? I just want to make sure I'm going to such. Oh, okay. So that's a little bit of background here. These are the seminars that we have now in 10 Oregon prisons. And while we're looking at that, I just want to let you know. Once I released to Bend, Oregon in 2010, I noted the piece with the lawyer where she told me the things to do that I took advantage of and did that while I was inside, transformed my life. But I came out with 3 years hanging over me that I was going to have to go back and do if I didn't find a job. And I was looking furiously for 2 months, and I had about $250 when I left the institution. I had a gray sweatsuit, not a lot to work with, and a bus pass for my parole officer. Yet everywhere I went, I was turned down for employment. The last stop was at a fast food joint, and they told me that they couldn't hire me because I was a liability. I left there with this feeling in my gut of, I need to do something about this someday. I didn't know how and I didn't know when. I knew that I wanted to own my own business and help others like me, but I didn't know what it was going to be. I asked my parole officer if I could go to school because nobody was hiring me. And if I didn't find a job in 1 month, I was going to go back. for 3 years. She said that was okay. I'm glad she did. I graduated with my degree, in business from Central Oregon Community College, came out and was hired. And I'll never forget that feeling when I was hired. And, so after that, I worked for a while there, and in 2015, 5 years after my release, my brother and I partnered, and I moved to Lebanon, Oregon. And I've been the general manager there with it in partnership with my brother Joseph. He's off gallivanting in Europe right now. That's why he's not here today. And it's almost 10 years that I've been owner operator with him for that gym. I established a new personality there and role and who I was as a person, as a business. You know, the past at that time, I knew it would come out later. 5 years after that, and still running the gym, I knew that I wanted to help those coming out of incarceration and I needed help out. Joseph, my brother, came up with the idea for an employment recruitment agency. And that was in 2021, when we started that. We had a living money. We're also members of the Eugene Chamber of Commerce and the Lebanon Chamber of Commerce as well. It's great gym for us. Since then, several hundred have been employed. And I formed a partnership with WorkSource as well. And so they provide that additional support for the folks coming out. And now in those 10 facilities there. And so every 3 months I go into the facilities. I was in Coffee Creek last week, and the week before that, Luke here joined me. He's with the Workforce Partnership, and he joined me at Sandy Ann Correctional Institution for a workshop inside of the men's facility. So super exciting. I'm going to go ahead and go into our next slide here. And so this is our office here. You're more than welcome to come down and take a tour anytime. Just send me an email. We're right behind the Gateway Grill in that building, right off the Gateway Loop. And this is really our intake center, clothing room. There's some volunteers that have come in to help with the clothing room, and some former adults in custody put a lot of time into helping support this. And next, this is kind of like when we first started going to Coffee Creek to bring in those workshops. And this is also a class that we worked with inside of Oregon State Penitentiary. And this class here, I'd like to just say, a third of the group has a life sentence. A third has 5 to 10 years left, and a third is getting ready to release. And the reason why we're so inclusive with these groups is it's super important to realize that you can enhance your career skills wherever you're at. Whether you're going to be in the facility for a while, you can advance while you're still in there. Also, and the guys that have like 5 to 10 years left, what can we do while we're still in here? Because that's the message that I bring in there, that the employers are really focused on. It's not a matter of what you did to get to prison. They want to know what work skills that you have and what you've earned and certifications that you've learned inside of the prisons and what you're going to bring to their industry. So that's really what we focus in these messages and in this class here, is it doesn't matter what you did before you got here. What are you doing right now? And with the time left that you have on your sentence, what can you do to get to those goals, to be successful in release and re-entering our communities? That class led to my career fair, which I will touch on in a little while, but we also formed partnerships along the way. So of course, I'm partnered with the Oregon Department of Corrections with sponsors. That's me here. I provide workshops that sponsors once a month here. And we work with the same population coming from Lee County. And we usually have a line of 4 or 5 individuals that are ready for job placement and all the Oregon Corrections Enterprises are absolutely amazing. They helped coordinate that first career fair last fall at Oregon State Penitentiary. We were able to bring in 15 employers, 5 different union trades, and several resource providers. So for the community and the public to actually see the work and what they're earning inside and what they're bringing to the community before they release, it's really important. And that's not only is that the purpose for having these events, but it's also important for the adults in custody to see the community that is willing to work with them when they come out, which includes some of these different unions that I connected with. We've got there Union 16, the sheet metal workers up there, iron workers local 29. And I believe 280, the electricians, and those are just a few of them. And actually coming into the fairs, I'm sponsoring one in Eastern Oregon Correctional in August, and we're looking at 2 more in 2025 at different institutions. So the union plays a crucial part in apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeship information when they come into these events. And Lane Workforce Partnership, they're absolutely incredible. They've been supportive of this since day one, including Luke over here. I'm just gonna throw them out there. Super helpful in promoting the work that we do amongst employers in our community. We have so many success stories, and I'm just gonna highlight a few, okay? And I'm gonna tell you why. So, our services are actually statewide. So everybody that I work with that's outside of Lane or Lynn County, because I have a business in Lynn as well. It's a remote call and it's the assistants, and I don't stop until you're hired is what I tell them. So we've got Josh over here on the left, and he did about 7 years inside and was employed within about 2 weeks over there in Newport. So in Lincoln County, we just had an interview for an additional job today. With one of our clients, employer clients out in Lincoln City. We've got Gary. Here, he just finished doing 28 years and released just a few weeks ago, and he actually just started his orientation for his job yesterday. We've got Bridget, she just finished about 16 years inside. We started the process at April 1st, and she just recently, I sat through the interview at the transit district, and she is going to be starting her position and training for the bus operator position here with LTD next month. And she's also an honorably discharged veteran and a wonderful person. We've got Ben over here in Clackamas. He did a lot of work inside on himself and amongst his peers for restorative justice. And so we were able to connect him with another nonprofit up in Multnomah County and really do the same type of work for a houseless community nonprofit that actually looks to hire folks that have done more than 15 years. We've got Ty Ray up here, he's local in our community. He's been at the same job for about 3 years now. He's doing absolutely awesome. And I just wanted to highlight him. He's working alongside with Dawn, and Dawn was actually, he comes in and brings me cake every once in a while to celebrate another anniversary of work. And so, he's great. He's probably gonna work with us in the future. Did a significant amount of time inside and is very happy with his employment. And so he's about 3 years at that company here. So I just wanted to highlight, as you can see on your brochures, they've got an 80% or higher from the discussions that I've had with employers. I have to get the most accurate stats before to just completely say that overall, but they do have higher retention rates, greater loyalty. They're excited and go-getters and very grateful to have that opportunity to work. Also, they come with tax incentives, every single one of them. So that's another, there's so many benefits for employers. Our folks in our workshops, there's Ethan and I right there, you're on the slide. So that was us. We took a prison selfie last time we were there. Hashtag prison selfie. And that's right after a workshop inside. There's about 30, the average size of a group is about 30, 35. But when I was at Coffee Creek last week, we had almost 85 women in the chat hall. It was pretty exciting. 100 altogether during that visit. So it really varies on the institution and when we're going in. And remember, these are folks that are coming back to our communities. And it's just so important to get that connecting point inside to help match them with employers we interface. Maybe just a few more events here. That's one of our employer clients. It's a garage door company there. I'm going to highlight Lisa just briefly. She's an example that I use when I go in there to let them know that, hey, we're not going to let our background be a barrier and hold us back from what we really want to do, right? We're going to focus on what we did inside. And who we are as an individual and the work skills that we may have had before. And she was in nursing and she was in a domestic violence situation and defended herself and ended up going to prison for that. They told her inside that she was never going to do nursing again. Well, she thought and she got her license back and she is nursing. She now currently she went away from that and she decided to, with her new husband, who's absolutely amazing. They have Pelican Garage Door over there in Lincoln County, and they hire folks coming out of incarceration for their business. They actually just made a nice donation, and I just want to highlight them for bicycles for folks coming out that need transportation. They're just amazing people. That was one of our classes. I wanted you to see the class size when we first started going up to these Eastern Oregon prisons. These are the prisons that are way out east. It's at literally another time zone at this one. So this one's out here in Ontario at Snake River Correctional on the minimum side. Yeah, and so they started off a little bit smaller, and then you'll see how they've grown actually. This is just a little bit about the career fair and how the partnerships with community members have really turned it into what it is. So much support from Oregon Corrections Enterprises, organizing the events inside and working with the same population and those releasing to our communities. And WorkSource has been instrumental. They're the ones that helped us bring all these employers into the communities by sending out that email and finding the fair chance employers that we have across the state. I want to benefit from this untapped talent. This is a little example of the flyer of the first event. This is just, I'm gonna briefly just touch on them, the work that he did inside, reflected on the work that he's doing now. He's received 2 promotions. He's now a supervisor and doing absolutely amazing up at that nonprofit. Lee is right here in Lane County. He was 11 years, did 11 years inside. He came out to this community here in Springfield and was really having a difficult time navigating resumes and job search. You've got to think, a lot of these individuals have been gone for some time, so navigating technology, there's job searches, everything is online now. You just need a little bit of assistance with this, and once they get it, the employers see how happy they are. So he's actually been at this job for 2.5 years, and he's already getting ready to just bought himself a new car and is getting ready to save and buy a. This is another story and example that I share when I go into the institutions that I am eager and excited to share. So Corey was actually inside of OSP for 10 years, and he did the HVAC program while he was in there. And they told him in there, the population told him inside, you're never going to do HVAC on the outside, right? Because you have burglaries on your record. You're not going to do residential HVAC. And he didn't believe that. He kept doing what he was doing and worked hard to receive that trade while he was inside, earned it, did a lot of the HVAC work inside of the institution. He came out. I've never seen anyone do an interview like that before. It was pretty amazing. With one of our local HVAC companies here in Lane County, they offered him a position within 10 minutes of us leaving the interview, and started out at $35 an hour, full company benefits, the vehicle, all the things. He's now a supervisor. He's training others. He's received 2 promotions, and he's only been out for a year and a half. And that he's getting married, buying a home, and bought his dream car. So there's so many more stories like this. We also offer additional services for the folks that we work with. Peer support is really important. We had a meeting last night. So folks that have done some time can come in and come to that meeting. We have information and resources there for everyone. Doesn't matter whether they released last week or they released 22 years ago, was one of our individuals in the room last night. We talk about expungements, what we can use to support those coming out of incarceration, housing. Bridget, who I highlighted earlier last night, actually a resource came in that was a veteran resource for housing, and she got connected to housing at the meeting last night. So these peer support groups are really important to have those additional resources that are in addition to employment. There's so much more. Housing, getting a driver's license, having additional support. There's so many other factors. Another success story that we have is Anthony. He is actually in our community here as well. And this is just a fine example of how all these organizations work together. And when I say organizations, this story includes Oregon Department of Corrections, where he was housed, Oregon Corrections Enterprises, where he actually welding and all the work that he did while he was inside of the certifications inside of DOC. But then he came out and worked with us an opportunity Oregon, and also WorkSource provides the test he needed for the union application. And he's staying at sponsors in the meantime. So all the organizations came together, and he's now a pre-apprentice to the local Union 16, the Springfield Training Center, and is a classified worker at this point in a longer process. So the prison outreach events is to continue to spark and show how the communities can collaborate across the state and really see what the guys are doing inside firsthand, the men and women actually. So these guys for the leadership of the 7-Step Foundation, they're really the brainstorming and the planning behind that first fair, because that's really initiated by adults in custody and a former adult in custody. in collaboration with DOC and OCE. And so, it turned out amazing. The surveys that came back, they were excited, like, this is the best outreach. It was. Yeah, the guys were bringing them cookies and, serving them and presenting, and, it was beautiful. So that's just a couple of the folks that came in and attended. This is one of our local employer clients. They've actually come into OSP a couple times, Swanson has, and sat on a panel and shared that same message of hope that we're really sharing across the globe. They said, it doesn't matter what you did before you got here so many years ago. What are you doing right now? What can we bring our company right now? And so we're super grateful. That was just an idea of what the event looked like there. We had about 150 adults in custody at this event in particular. The surveys that came back from the adults in custody it felt like a real person that day. They felt like the community really cared. They felt like, they really had some options when they released. They told home to their families and told them how amazed they were by the communities. And so for them to see that as well is very encouraging for when they come home. That was just a team that we put together. And then we also have our director up there of Organ Corrections Enterprise. She's absolutely. These are just an idea of some of the classes. So it's kind of a tiny little picture there. That's a resource room up at Snake River Correctional that they just added. And I was able to get my presentation up there the last time I was there. And that's just another workshop. And then these folks down here have other nonprofit reentry organizations who recently formed a coalition of other formerly incarcerated, justice involved nonprofits across the state. Because the more the merrier with this, right? There could never be enough reentry and enough resources for these folks coming out. Changing patterns with Frank right there is their mentoring, they're providing peer mentorship. They pick them up from the facility and bring them back to Deschutes County and send them in a free book and let them know that they're there to assist with any of their reentry needs. And so we're highly connected with them as well. And then that's just the folks that we collaborate with inside of OSP again. And we are growing. So again, this slideshow was actually made for the population inside. I just kind of moved it around a little bit for the community to kind of see, this is the presentation that I'm actually bringing into them. So then you can see the size of this class. They are growing instrumentally, and our posters are all over the walls inside of these institutions across the state. And so we're just really trying to, and I'm working on connecting more. Like I'll be at a job fair in the morning tomorrow, pretty early, up in Gresham, because it's important to connect to as many employers in the community as possible, because I want to continue to build those partnerships with employment. So I have those options for folks. And I want to let you know the folks that are coming out, that they're coming out with every kind of industry you could possibly imagine. We have them coming out with administrative, optical, manufacturing, heavy equipment operation, construction technology, welders. We even have as far as, AutoCAD software techs. There's auto mechanic classes. Any industry that you can think of. I can go on and name off the industries. Anytime you think of. So no employer in this community that is hurting, that is needing employees, and I just want to let you know that everyone that comes through my office, we have an application process. We're looking for the ones that have demonstrated that change inside, that match that skill that the employer is looking for. And they have to send in with that their AIC misconduct form, so I can see that that's accurate. So they've all been pre-screened before they come to my office, before I even send off their resume and cover letter to effective employee. And I just wanted to let you know that I started changing my habits inside, and my whole life completely changed. I had no idea that this was going to happen. I didn't even think it was possible, but there's some new laws that was passed, and I went back to Deschutes County, and I no longer have a record. And this is another message that I'm sharing with the folks inside. I think the whole world knows that I have a record now because of this nonprofit, and I don't hide it because this is what we do and this is why we do it, right? But it's important to show them that if you change your habits inside, you can have that life again. I have no questions.
Yeah, I'm curious, 12 programs that OEC offer, inmates they can go through. I'm just curious, because then how that matches up with when they get released.
Absolutely. So OCE, there is so many different certifications in laundry, maintenance, construction technology, welding, heavy equipment. There are so many different ones, like wood shop, metal shop. There's a very, you can actually go to I believe there's a website for Organ Collections Enterprises, and you can see all of what they're doing there. All the signs also, I was gonna say, I'm not sure if this is OCE or DLC, so I don't want to quote this.
Yeah.
But when I was up at Snake River, so all of our signs that we have on our roads, like so many of them, a large percentage of those signs, like just the street signs, are coming from the residents.
Okay.
They're right there. So print shops, sign shops, the garment factory over at Eastern Oregon, so sewing, call centers. Also, at incentive levels, they have call centers all over the facilities as well. So they have that customer service, administrative, clerical, experience as well. It's a very wide range.
Okay. So again, not being offered opportunities for certification and training, but they're actually getting practical experience in a lot of these areas.
Absolutely, and then also in the bookstores, before they release the pre-release. We're giving the additional, the soft skills, the employability types that are so important when you're coming to the role, especially if you've been on for quite some time. It's not just the work skills and trades, but it's really important to have the soft skills. So they're really helping with that, and resume preparation, and cover letter, and connecting with the for the release. So we're all working together as a team. It's enjoyable. Absolutely. Yes.
Tough questions. So I heard your transition and I've heard others stories like that. It's great. But I've also heard of many people who are discouraged and cynical in prison coming out. And I'm just wondering, is there a system or something to say, or what do you recommend for that group of people to help them become empowered and resilient?
That's a great question, and I'm happy to answer that. So the message in every single letter that I send and right, the message that's all over our posters is that they can have a different life if they change their circumstances. And that
Yeah.
includes
So love and hope.
love and hope and compassion and advocacy. That, hey, if you do this, if you make these choices, I'm happy to work with you. I'm gonna give you the example of Blake. He was getting in trouble. He was a youngster that was coming back to Lake County. He was getting in trouble, getting multiple infractions while he was inside, right? And he got a letter and said, hey, we want to help place you with the employer clients. I'm gonna work with everyone, no matter what. And give them the resources, but the ones that replace them with employers are the ones that have demonstrated that change. And so he said, I heard about your program and I've been getting in trouble up until this point. I'm actually sitting in segregation right now, like tax meeting or something, right? And I said, hey, Blake, you know what? If you tell me right now that you're gonna make a change and you're gonna turn things around, I'd love to go with you.
What if he said, I don't know, or I don't want?
And he ended up being successful. I just wanted to say that. If they, you know what, there's gonna be that percentage of individuals that just don't. And that's just, that's tough, but it's the truth. Not everybody wants to change.
Yes.
A follow-up difficult question to that. You have had a lot of experience with the organ collection. And I hear the horror stories about how terrible that system is. Obviously, not completely terrible. As someone who's experienced the system from all sides, what do you see as the way to improve the collectional system to give you and your people a better chance of success?
Great question. I honestly believe that it's care and compassion and concern, because I'll tell you, with my own experience, there's individuals and staff that's there now and that was there when I was there, that actually showed that compassion and concern, but they were still very by the book and went by the rules. And I have the utmost respect for that. It was really up to me whether I was gonna try to sneak it and get away with things, or I was gonna comply, be respectful, but at the same time, do what I was supposed to do. Right, so, but there's always gonna be, wherever we go, there's gonna be folks that, you know, it's not great to work with. And there are still some inside, unfortunately. I don't feel like making the right, what they can do, to train is see what's good for rehabilitated. Yes.
So, Nancy, first of all, thank you so much for coming today. I love what you do. We're really excited that you're here in Springfield and we're here in the tough state. I have a lot of questions, but I'll start with one around advocacy. You're doing advocacy on just a number of fronts, from everything from regulatory pieces to working with employees. Can you talk a little bit about some of the barriers that you're working on to get more people to transition to the workforce? Yeah, what is it industries, is it legislative?
Yeah, there's a lot of red tape involved when it comes to hiring through HR. So one barrier that I'm trying to get through is HR wants to hire a lot of businesses, but they have these outdated policies when they can't, or sometimes insurance doesn't allow them to, you know, depending upon the product. So what I'm doing is I'm navigating the system and seeing, okay, this company over here, they cannot have anybody that has this type of background. Or this company over here doesn't have this kind of background. So I'm continuously adding new employers to the list. And see, and I have that conversation with the employers, say, hey, it's very open and conversation here. If you can't for some reason, like, you can't be a bus driver if you have a person that's just an example, right? And so we find another spot for that individual. Some of the barriers with employers too, it's just basically, it's way far back rules and regulations that need to be looked at again, and considering this hiring, because the folks that do the hiring want to hire a lot of the times, they can't. Something's gonna change.
Then do you have statistics either from work that later from your own work to share with employers and help them understand what they can do?
Yeah, absolutely. I have it in my software and everybody that we work with, I'm always happy to share them. Yeah. Another barrier too is just like driver's license, that kind of thing, when it comes to that. That's another side, but that wouldn't have anything to do with employers. Yes.
This might be a restatement of Mike's question and this gentleman's question. I'm wondering. You know, when I look at this, self-respect has to start somewhere. You can respect yourself. You have a hard time respecting other people, their property, et cetera. How do you approach that? First of all, there's corrections approach that. And imagine that there are a lot of people inside. We think they have self-respect, but they actually don't. And how you crack that?
That's really an individualized item. You know, there's so many different stories. They wear different, just the clothing, right? Just like any one of us, right? And how do we, right? Out here, we have that self-respect for ourselves. Inside, I've met the most genuine, hardworking, friendly, compassionate individuals that you would never even think, you know, why is this individual in prison? If you're actually meeting them face to face, and hear their stories, it's just like it is out there, you know, some change, some don't. Yeah. Yes.
It looks like there's some good incentives for employers here, tax wise and other for hiring people. And how long has that been around? Is that a recent
That's a good
thing?
question. I don't know how long it's been around, but I do know, the employer, it's a simple process and I walk my employers through that process. All they have to do is fill out the paperwork, for that within the first 28 days of hire. And then they file at the end of the year to get that credit for hiring them. And the great thing about it is depending upon how many barriers they have, like Bridget, for example, She had more because she was a formerly, she's also a veteran and formerly incarcerated and 10% disability. So she's gonna get the highest amount, which is up to $9,200. So they started about $2,400 depending upon the individual, but up to $9,200. And that's based on a percentage. And of course, they have to be on the job for so long to receive that credit. And it's really a 40 to 120 days. Can't remember the number right now, but yeah, it's a really nice incentive. There's also a $5,000. I forgot to mention this, federal bonding. So if someone's still just a little bit leery about hiring somebody that's come out of incarceration, any employer can get that $5,000 federal bond, if they wanted that initially.
So what does that mean? I don't understand what the.
It's a $5,000 additional bond that they can get from the federal government for hiring somebody coming out of incarceration. So it just protects them up to $5,000 if there was a loss. But the statistics actually show, if you look it up, that vendors don't reoffend in any place. It's folks that have never been in trouble. Yes.
Is there anything similar where you looked at being involved in juvenile justice? Because obviously we can help the kids that are young.
That's another great question. Yes. I actually recently, just within this last month, was connected to Oregon Youth Authority and already starting to connect the units with coming into an upcoming career fair at McLaren facility up in Woodburn. So starting there, that just started those conversations. That is really important. There is another nonprofit here. It's Oregon Justice Network. JAM is a part of that. It's intercommunity. A lot of people don't know. It's juvenile advocacy mentorship, where people with lived experiences are there for juveniles in our community and have a free sports event every Thursday night at kids' clubs. So there are some things going on here. If anybody wants more information on that, I'm happy to. Yes.
So it turns out I'm going to a sentencing hearing tomorrow.
Oh, you are?
Okay. And I have the opportunity to make a victim speak. What would you coach me to say?
That is a great question. I have to think about that. I would put you to say what helped me is if this juvenile is going to be sentenced to take full advantage of the programs that are offered to them through Oregon Youth Authority. And treat it as a camp to learn how to do things differently. And I'm not just saying just the basic programming, keep your time busy, your time will fly by, and you can come out of your course. And completely change your life if you take advantage of it. Yes.
Can you talk about the screen? You said applicants come to you pre-screened. What are they looking for? What are you looking for when you're thinking?
Absolutely. So what I'm really looking for is a demonstration of change of behavior while inside. Can start from the moment that we start writing so that they know and have the opportunity to do that. But many of the individuals have never had an infraction at all while they're excited to do a semester. And they send me that verification. I also ask for what their job history is while they're inside. So it's going to show me that someone's been at the same job. I've had someone in the same job for 20 years before. So it's going to show me what kind of work ethic they have. And then any additional programming, I have them list that as well. So if they're going through they get different certifications, service dogs, so, certifications, gardening, horticulture, beekeeping, there's so many different things. Life skills, parenting, Toastmasters, so many additional ones. I'm seeing that they're being constructive with their time. They're keeping themselves busy. And those are the ones that I see being successful in these. And this is what I'm sharing with them when I go and talk to them. So that's what we're looking for in the applications. And then they also put the industry that they're looking to be in, and the county that they're releasing to. So I can have that research done. And sometimes I have an employer for them before they even release, if I know what industry. And a lot of them say any on the application for that field. So now I'm going in with career assessments to say, hey, let's decide what we want to do based on a career assessment. So we can help you more specifically in the release. So once they complete that process, they get my contact information. I can't tell you how many phone calls I got this week that said, hey, I just got out of prison, I'm ready to start in. And 5 more people became employed across the state this week, and that's really how it works. Is finding that connecting point is crucial, instead of coming out scrambling like, I need to do this on my own, I don't know where to start. They have somewhere they can go directly upon release. I get calls within 24 hours when they released, so that we can start actively work on that. My goal is to have it in the first 72 hours. And sometimes they get a job within just a few days, sometimes it takes a little bit longer, depending upon the job. The area.
It sounds like insurance is a barrier in some cases. And I was wondering if you could expand on that and what can be done to address that problem.
So it's really the type of the company that it is, you know, and what their limits are as far as hiring. So sometimes it's insurance that's the issue, sometimes it's not. But
So
they,
this is like HR insurance or something, or
it's
what?
a company insurance. Company
Is there a
insurance,
liability?
general liability, professional liability, and what they can have at the workplace and what they can't, depending upon what the crime is or the matter. And a lot of the times it's just their preference. And they're not,
A lot of times what?
a lot of the times it's just preference, and I'm trying to write through that to show that.
Yeah.
Follow-up question on insurance. Is it fair to say that the insurance industry has a rather antiquated view of the risk of hiring formerly incarcerated people?
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. I'm sure there's certain reasons why they can't, but that's not the reason why. I don't have a lot of knowledge on insurance. I'm not gonna act like I do. I've heard that reason given to me before why they can't hire, but a lot of the times it's other old policies rather than insurance that they can't. And I don't know specifically what they are, but that's just what I'm being told by the employer.
I mean, it could be one of those easy excuses to say.
I'm thinking that. I pretty much know that, but that's what I've been told.
Has there been an industry, we've had a lot of folks being released that want to go into, but there's not a lot of jobs. They kind of make a shift, you know, that half of the time.
Certain industries that are more difficult to tap into are medical, health, where they have a lot of experience. And I've seen the most incredible resumes and backgrounds, but they can't. But I've also seen someone come out, get a job at a bank right. I think it just really depends upon the situation.
Yes, specific question, because I was just up in June Chambers Community Solutions Summit on housing and surveyor being very needed in the free sector that we are seeing higher out. One of the career flow certification programs that they are pushing.
I haven't received one application on that yet, but maybe in the future. Big thing that I'm gonna write that down.
And this may kind of piggyback on Dave's question that you may not know the answer, but does corrections and enterprise, do they go out and kind of survey to see what kind of industries need
Yes.
employed and they need to
They
be?
work very hard at that and making those connections. They work very hard at what they're doing with the industries inside the prisons. They are the internal employers across the state, right? And so they are working very hard to match what's being done in there with what's needed out here. Kind of like, we need to know the kind of certification someone's gonna need to be a viable candidate for a particular union, right? I'll give you the electrician who make ID 280, for example. They want someone with at least, you know, the bare bones electrician's certification inside to be that viable candidate, right? That's not gonna have to wait as long, the waiting process for an apprenticeship, where the sheet metal is, for example, it takes somebody at entry level. So they all kind of vary. It's really navigating and just finding that out through our application process to see who's a match. I answered 2 questions with your one, sorry.
Yes, more info and it was great, so thank you.
Other questions? If not, thank you very much. This is clearly one of the most interesting programs we've had in a long time. One that involves real possibility of doing something different. Anyway, thank you all for coming. Reminder, we will not be meeting on the fourth, but we will be meeting on July 18th at this site to discuss climate friendly air. Thanks again. Right,
Thank you, Nancy, for coming.
yes.
So I'm Doug Bovee. I want to join.
Linda.
I'm not a member.
Okay,
I don't have enough money today.
that's all right.
Should I just?
You can go to you can go to the website
Okay.
when it's convenient.
Okay.
You can pay right there.
Okay.
Thank you.
What's your name?
Lynn, good.
Lynn, are you president or?
No, I'm the secretary. Actually, Paige is the
Oh,
president.
Okay.
hi, Doug.
Doug,
Yeah.
nice to meet you.
And, I'm on the board of sponsors, so I'm gonna tell.
Okay, how did you hear about the program?